Hi, welcome to the video. My name is Janelle, and today I'm going to be walking you through a fun little project. So we're going to be making this cute little glasses pouch, and it's just kind of envelope style. So I've got a little button here, and it opens up, and you can put your glasses inside. So the main part of this project is made from a single modified granny square. And I just posted a tutorial last week on how to make a granny square, so I will leave links to that both up in the corner and down in the description if you want to check that out. So the only real differences between the granny square that we use for this project and a standard granny square are that instead of being square, I've turned it on its side so it's a diamond shape. Since we're essentially making an envelope, and an unfolded envelope is kind of an elongated diamond. So in order to get that shape, we also have to elongate the sides, and I'll show you how to do that as we get into the project. So for my prototype here, I did it all in one color, but the version that I'm gonna make today, I'm gonna use multiple colors. And the granny square that we're making is gonna be 6 rows. So I'm using 3 different colors, and I'll do 2 rows of each color. I've got kind of an interesting color combination here. I'm just sort of using what I have. So I've got a pink, I've got sort of a lime green, and then a red. You of course can use whatever colors you like. You can do it all in one color, you can do it in 2 colors, 3 colors, or you can do 6 different colors if you want to do each row a different color. So I'm using worsted weight yarn and my 6mm crochet hook. Other supplies that you're going to need are a piece of craft felt. Again, that can be whatever color you like. I'm using purple. You can try to match the color of your yarn or do something totally contrasting. The felt is going to show through, so you will see it. And you can see in this version, I do have a darker pink. So just pick something that looks good with the colors of your yarn. You're also going to need a yarn needle, some thread or embroidery floss, and a button. And then you'll also need a pair of scissors and a marker or something to mark your felts. So to start off, I'm going to do a magic ring, and you can start your granny square however you normally do. In the tutorial that I posted last week, I gave you 3 different versions of how to start a granny square, so you can pick whichever one of those you like. I always prefer magic ring, so I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to start by chaining 3, and then do 2 double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2 and do 3 double crochet. And this is where the pattern differs slightly from the version that I did in the tutorial. So here, instead of just chaining 2, I'm going to chain 4. And then do another 3 double crochet. And then we're going to do another chain 2 and another 3 double crochet. And then we're going to do another chain 4. I'm just going to close up the center here and then slip through the chain 3. With a normal granny square, it's going to be even on all sides, but here we're doing a bit of a turn. And you can see already that it's longer than it is tall. And that's the shape that we want, seeing as this is going to get turned into an envelope. So that's our first row. And then you can just carry on if you're doing it all in one color, but because I'm doing different colored rows right now, I am going to switch to my second color. So I'm just going to trim this off and then just slip my new color through the previous one and pull that tight. And then again, as usual, I'm going to start with a chain 3. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochet through the chain 4 space. And then a chain 2, 3 double crochet in the chain 2 space. Chain 2, and another 3 double crochet in the same chain 2 space. Chain 2, 3 double crochet in the chain 4 space. And now, because we're at the corner on the side, we're going to do another chain 4. So anytime we're at either side, the corner is going to get a chain 4 rather than a chain 2. And then we'll do another 3 double crochet through the same chain 4 space. And then a chain 2. So then in this space, we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, because this is going to be the bottom and that doesn't need to be elongated. So again, we'll just do chain 2 here. Chain 2, and then we'll do another 3 double crochet. And we're back at the side, so we're going to do another chain 4. And then slip that into the chain 3. And that's the second row done. So you can really see now how the sides are elongated and we're really getting that diamond shape. So once again, I'm going to switch colors for my third row. So I'm just going to trim that off, and I'm going to use red for my third row. So again, I'll just slip that through. Tighten up the green. And start off with the chain 3 and 2 double crochet. So we'll chain 2 and then 3 double crochet on the side. Chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and because this is the top, we're going to do another set of 3 double crochet here. Chain 2, and then 3 double crochet, chain 2, and now we're at our side, so we'll do 3 double crochet, chain 4, and then 3 double crochet in the same space. Chain 2, and then we'll just continue on doing our clusters of 3 in each of the side spaces, 2 clusters of 3 in the corners, and then I'll finish off with a chain 4 when we get to the side. Okay, so just finishing off with our chain 4 and slip through the chain 3. And again, I'm going to change colors for my next row. So I will trim that one. And it's looking a little messy right now, but I will work in all of these ends when I finish crocheting. That's where we're at right now. And I'm gonna go back and repeat my colors. So I'll do pink for the next row. And we're just gonna be doing more of the same. Again, it's gonna be 1 cluster in each of the spaces on the side, 2 clusters in the top and bottom and each side. And you're gonna be doing a chain 2 between each of the clusters except for each of the sides, which will be chain 4. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish crocheting this, and I'm going to make it 6 rows. All right, so my granny square, or granny diamond rather, is finished. And I've also woven in the ends. All I did was take a yarn needle, threaded it onto the ends of the yarn, and then I ran it under a few stitches and then just snipped off the rest. So back is looking nice and clean. And so the next step is to take our diamond and fold it into an envelope. So I'm going to go back to the overhead view to show you how we're doing that. All right, so the next step is to fold this into an envelope. So I've got my granny square laid out with the back side facing up and the longer corners at the side. So you're going to want to fold it a little more than halfway. So that would be the middle point there. But we're going to bring it up about another row. And then we're going to fold in the sides. So the corners are not all going to meet in the middle. The bottom is going to be sitting a little bit higher. So the corners of the sides are going to be hitting at about where you have your first chain 2 space on the bottom. So from here you can either pin it or clip it together. I have little sewing clips like this. So I'm going to use these. You can also use little bulldog clips if that's what you have. So I'm just going to make sure that I keep this lined up. Put in a clip on either side to hold it where I want it, and then because my last row was red, I'm going to take a length of my red yarn. Probably just a couple feet will be enough. Snip that off. And then I'm going to thread that on my yarn needle. Just make sure that your chain spaces are lining up just to keep things even. So we're going to start in the one corner. And I'm going to just run my needle under the 2 stitches that comprise that corner and pull my yarn through and then just knot it. Run your needle through the knot and pull that tight. And then we can actually just pull this through to the inside so you're not going to be able to see it. And then I'm just going to go back and forth through the stitches. Just to sew everything together. Just making sure that I'm keeping my sides even. Once you get to the corner on the side, you can just go through the last stitch there. So again, because our sides are chain 4, just go through the first 2 chain, and then I'm going to go back through the next stitch just on the bottom, so we're not going to catch the side. And then we're just going to weave this back and forth through the stitches on the bottom corner, just till we get to the next side. And just make sure that you're not pulling tight because that will scrunch this up. So just keep your stitches loose. Okay, and then once you are over to the other side, I'm just going to remove that to get it out of the way. I'm just going to go in through the second chain in our corner here. Sorry for the background noise. And then just, again, continue going back and forth through the stitches until you reach the end. And then once you get to the end, you can just stab your needle through to the inside, flip it inside out a little bit, pull the rest of your yarn through, and then just tie a knot. And then the end of that can be trimmed. So you can just flatten that out a little bit. And we've got our envelope shape. So then this is going to be the pocket that the glasses go inside, and the top will fold down, and we'll add a little button here to hold that in place. So that's the outside all finished. So the next step is going to be to cut our felt and stitch that together, and then stitch the felt to the inside. So I actually missed a step. I should have traced out my felt before I stitched my granny square closed. So if you're doing this in the right order, you would just line up the one corner of your granny square with the corner of your felt, and then trace out the angle of the diamond. So I'm going to try to do that retroactively. It's just going to be a little more difficult because I don't have a flat surface to do this with. So you can use a marker or chalk or whatever you have. I actually have tailor's chalk, so I will maybe use that. And then I won't be marking up anything permanently. So even if you don't get your angles perfect, it's not a big deal because we're going to need to cut this down slightly anyways. Since this is going inside of the other piece, it's going to need to be a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to cut this to size. And then I can make it smaller after if I need to. Okay, so there's my diamond of felt. And I also want to make sure that it's relatively even this way. You can see it's a little bit off, so I'm gonna just trim that. Okay, so that should be a little more even. And I'll just fold it up this way as well to make sure. Okay, that way looks good. So I might still need to cut this down a little bit because it's probably going to be a bit too large still to fit inside. So the felt piece is still a little bit too big, so I'm just going to take it down by about 1/2 inch. So now you can see that the felt is a little bit smaller the corners of the granny square are sticking out past the edges, so this should be the right size to fit inside. So again, just trace your diamond before you stitch it together, and like me, cut it out and then remove about 1/4 of an inch around the outside, and that should be about the size that you need. So at this point, I'm actually going to snip off the top and the bottom corners. And I'm just gonna take off maybe 1/2 inch. So the reason for this is because the top part here is going to be folded over, and the chain 2 space here is going to be used as our buttonhole. So this needs to remain open, so we don't want to block this part with felt. So the top of the felt is just going to come straight across here and leave this open. And I found when I was doing the prototype, I had left the point at the bottom as well, and I found that because this was curved, the felt was sticking up above it, so I'm just chopping off the bottom as well. So before we stitch the felt to the granny square, we're going to need to stitch up the corners of the felt. So we're going to do the same thing that we did when stitching the granny square together. So sides come in and bottom folds up, again to get that envelope shape. And I'm just going to match up the corner of the sides to the corners of the bottom part. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to stitch up one side across and down the other. So I'm just going to bring out my little clips again, just to hold this in place while I stitch. And you can use whatever you have. If you just have thread, that works fine. I'm going to use embroidery floss. And I'm matching the color of the floss to the felt, but you don't necessarily have to. If you want to match it to the color of your yarn, that works too. We are going to stitch the felt to the yarn, so you're going to see whatever thread you use through the outside of the granny square anyways. So however you want to do it is fine. So again, I'm just going to thread this on, start in one corner and tie a knot. So for this, I'm just going to leave the knot on the outside. It's going to be inside of the granny square anyways, so you're not really going to see it. So for this, I'm going to use a blanket stitch. So you just pull your thread through from the back, and before you pull the loop totally closed, you're just going to run your needle through it. Try to keep your spaces even. Again, pull needle through before you close the loop. Just run needle through it, and that will just carry the thread across the top. So then once you get to the end, again, you can just tie a knot and trim off the rest of your thread. So there's our little interior envelope. Now we're just going to put them together. So the felt can just go inside our granny square. And just make sure the little corners are down inside. So the next step is going to be to stitch around the opening of our envelope, just attaching the felt to the yarn. So I'm going to just stick with my purple. It will show through on the red, but that's okay. I'm going to start from the one side, and I'm just going to go in where we already have a stitch here and attach my thread. And if you want, you can clip along it as well, or pin it just to make sure that you're keeping it even. And I'm just going to do a whip stitch. So I'm just going to be kind of looping my thread through both. So I've already got it attached to my felt. So I'm just going to go through corner stitch here and back through the next. And then just stitch through your felt from the front to the back, or from the inside to the outside, however you want to look at it. And then go through the next stitch. And then back through the stitch beside that. And then again through the felt. And just continue all the way around. When you get to the flat part at the top here, you can continue doing just the whip stitch across just the felt and not through the yarn. So I'm just going to make a few stitches here, and this is really just to carry the thread across. And then you can just start going back through the stitches in your yarn on the other side. All right, so I'm back to the other side now. I've got this all stitched in. I haven't bothered stitching up the little bit at the bottom here. It's not really necessary. This is already stitched across anyways, so I'm just gonna, again, tie a little knot here and trim off my thread. So that's our little pouch, front and back. And the last step is to attach a button. So I'm just going to dig through my stash and see what I can find. So I don't really have anything that matches any of the colors that I have in this piece already. Because I have all these crazy contrasting colors anyways, I'm just going to throw another color in there. So I have this kind of teal blue colored button, so I'm just going to attach this. So you can just kind of fold it down and see approximately where you need to attach. So it looks like right on the pink here is where I need it. So I'm just going to cut a little piece of my pink yarn. And then just run this under a couple of the stitches through the loop on my button and tie a knot. And I think I'm actually going to do this again just to make sure that it's on here securely. So just tighten that up. Go through my button one more time. And then just tie a final knot. So you can use whatever type of button you have. This type is probably the best, the kind that has the, I forget what this is called, hank, I think, on the back, something that sticks up a little bit just because the yarn is a little thicker. And you want to make sure it's small enough that it will fit through the hole at the top. So that is our finished pouch. So here is our finished sunglass pouch. Back and the inside. So you can just slip a pair of glasses in there and button it and then toss it in a bag, and they should be pretty well protected. You can omit the inside felt if you like, but just know that it's not going to be as protected from scratches or anything, just because it will have the holes in it. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Remember to like and subscribe and leave me a comment letting me know what colors you're using for this. I would love to know the different color combinations that people do. I'm actually really surprised at how this came out. I wasn't sure how these colors would work together, but I do like them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.